All right, well, we'll go ahead and jump in here. So as you saw on the front here, the actual title here is Play, Make, Design. How does it contribute to lifelong learning? The purpose of this presentation is to create a dialogue around the tension between how we as humans organically learn and how the systems of school-based learning are currently designed to compete with that. We'll explore a number of provocations and above all else, seek to play. Through our contributions and dialogue, we hope to better understand what the future of school-based learning may become. So I always like to preface that, this isn't a typical presentation. It is more of a conversation. It's definitely not prescriptive. We don't have the answers for all of this, but it is definitely engaging. Hopefully you take away a couple of nuggets as far as, what we're seeing today in that more siloed school structure versus what we could potentially see that siloed school-based learning become in the future. So we're going to start right away with an activity. It says bird, so that's a little bit of a foreshadow of what we might be doing here. We're going to work on defining play, make, and design. We're going to look at finite versus infinite systems, complicated versus complex systems, and then hopefully tie it all together at the end here. So yeah, without further ado, you should have a Sharpie, you should have a sticky note. Go ahead, Jack,
All right.
I'm stealing the thunder.
No worries. Everyone should have a Sharpie and a sticky note in front of them. If you're missing that, feel free to let me know. But what we're going to do is we're going to try and create a bird as randomly, I suppose, as possible. So what I'm going to have everyone do on your sticky note, I'm going to give you one here too, Chad. And then I'll just have you work actually with the two gentlemen in front of you here. We're going to have everyone draw a squiggly line on your sticky pad. And then you don't have to peel the sticky note off or anything. Just take the whole pad and pass it to whoever is to the left of you. If you got to loop back around, send it back around. Maybe the four of you can all work together here, and then we've got 5 back there. How does that sound?
Okay.
Beautiful.
Don't have to put much thought. Squiggly line, pass.
Yes. Squiggle pass, and then once we see things starting to move around, we'll jump to our next section.
Same sticky note?
Yes. Yeah. No need to peel them off or anything because we're going to continue to use that squiggly line for the rest of the activity. And once we got our squiggly lines, somewhere, it doesn't have to be on the squiggly line, it can be around the squiggly line. Go ahead and draw a beak. Make sure you have a new squiggly line in front of you, however. And it gets interesting. We got a couple Picassos in the room.
All right.
Once we got our beak, go ahead and pass those sticky pads along again. Same kind of idea, somewhere on the sticky note. It could be on the line or not. You can draw a wing. You can draw multiple wings.
Depends if you want to go 3-dimensional,
Yeah.
2D, you pick.
We've seen some pretty interesting ones in the past. Right?
Now it's up to you to keep that one going.
Alrighty, now if we've all got our wings, we've made our pass to the next person. Let's go ahead, we'll draw an eyeball or eyeballs. Again, same thing, 2-dimensional, 3-dimensional. We'll leave that up to you.
Let's see if these birds can fly.
Right?
This one might be able.
We might have a chance. All right. Confidence booster. All right, and if we've done our eye or eyeballs, we can go ahead, make the pass one final time. This should be it. And then we'll go ahead and we'll draw a foot or feet.
And when you're done, rip the sticky note off and hold it up.
Yes.
Jack, come grab it.
Alrighty. Let's see. I think that could fly. I think we're going to survive here. Wonderful. Thank you. Is this the dragonfly? I love it. Oh, these are awesome. That's pretty darn good, too. I'm not going to lie. All right.
Yeah, that's the one that Chad started that one.
These are some fun ones. Yeah, you can rip it right off for me. Thank
really
you.
set that bird up for success.
Wonderful. You know, I've seen a lot of really crazy ones. This is awesome. Wonderful. All right.
Let's go over here.
We're going to try and stick these up on the wall so we can all see what our beautiful artwork looks like this morning.
All right. Hopefully you can see it. I don't know.
They'll be up here at least to look at
Wow.
later
Okay.
Oops.
Well, some look different than others.
Oh, yeah.
The middle one looks pretty spot on.
This one almost looks like a peep. I don't know if that was planned. Someone still got peeps on their mind from Easter. That's awesome. No, I'm sure that you guys are all wondering why we decided to go ahead and create a bird first thing in the morning on a Thursday, right? Well, really, the whole idea here is to try and explore why we seek to contribute to the future of school-based learning in our education systems. We all individually do play a part at the end of the day. It's a lot like the bird activity, right? Somebody drew the squiggly line. Someone else contributed the feet, then the eyes, the wings. Everyone within these school systems contributes their own piece, but together we can all essentially create what education looks like for students not only today, but also for future generations as well.
And I think it's a good depiction that we might not necessarily know what it's going to look like.
Exactly.
They all look different. But at the end of the day, from afar, you can tell mostly that they're birds.
Yeah.
Kind of. Good job, everybody. Thank you for participating.
It's humbling, too.
All right, so let's shift gears a little bit. Anyone know who this is?
It's going to be the Vinci.
Ding, ding. So he was quoted saying, "All our knowledge has its origins in our perceptions." Anyone want to maybe take a stab at what that means to them? Any thoughts that come to mind there?
Perception is reality.
Yeah, exactly. Easier way to put it. Anyone have him in their pocket? Had. He said, "Tell me and I forget, teach me and I may remember, involve me and I learn." Involve me and I learn. Any thoughts on that? Yeah.
Yes.
Getting hands-on. Sometimes that's the best way to learn. When Jack joined me in Orlando a year and a half ago, I threw him to the fire. It's the best way to learn, right? Get hands-on, start to learn, get involved.
Absolutely.
We know him too, right? Education is what remains after one has forgotten what one has learned in school. How about that one? What I mean, we all have different backgrounds with education. Do you remember History 101 and what you learned if you took that course? You don't, right? To me, what this means is it's those experiences that resonate, right? I had a lot of unique and fun experiences at the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee. I do not remember History 101, but there was a lot of good life lessons I learned, and it was that kind of speaks to this quote, right? It's those experiences that you ultimately take with you. This is where we usually fall off the cliff. Does anyone know who that is? No? Yeah. Sheryl Sandberg. So she was tied to Facebook. She's a philanthropist as well. But she was quoted saying, "It is the ultimate luxury to combine passion and contribution. It's also a very clear path to happiness." What do you think about that?
It's true.
Yeah.
If you're doing what you love, you're going to be happy.
Yep.
And that's really what she was getting at. And I think really all these quotes tie together, and just understanding that it's about the experiences that really create a positive outcome or a positive experience. So, all right, the sticky notes aren't done yet, so we're going to do one more activity here. I know we're getting the wheels spinning today, so we're going to give you about a minute. Please don't push yourself too hard. We're going to take the sticky note and, in your own words, define what play is. We'll give you 30 seconds. Just play. What do you think in your mind? What is the definition of play? When you're done, hold it up, rip the sticky note off, and we're going to move on to make and then design. So you're going to, in your own words, define play, define make, define design. All right, you obviously can't read, but we broke this up by play, make, design over here. We're just going to kind of read a few of the things here that you came up with. So with play, we have fun, no work. I like that one. Fun activities that provide a smile. Unrestricted, make something, play with someone. The ability to imagine, I like that one. Leisure or programmed free time. Having fun, enjoying yourself, being carefree. So a lot of similarities there. So then make, create, creating or crafting. When the plan comes to action, purpose-driven. To construct what is imagined. Put together a task, creating something, turning nothing into something. I like that one a lot. Construct something. So construct keeps coming up. Design, develop, making your thoughts into reality. Time to imagine and focus on something you enjoy. Create a vision on paper. To refine what is imagined. Guided to specific outcome, vision, or layout. So
A lot of similarities.
a lot. And I mean, we did that in less than 5 minutes. So here's the actual Google definition. So play is to engage in an activity for enjoyment and recreation rather than a serious or practical purpose. You guys nailed it. Make, to form something by putting parts together or combining substances. To construct, to create. Again, it saw a lot of construct, saw a lot of create. And then design, to create, fashion, execute, or construct according to plan. So you may already understand what the purpose of this is, but it's really to show that components of playing, making, and designing are really organic to us as species. So again, this was unsolicited. We put a sticky note in front of you. You were able to do this pretty organically and naturally, not ever having done this in the past. And I think this starts early on as babies to adults, right? I mean, whether we're playing with Play-Doh as kids, we're imagining, we're designing. Every day we wake up and we have a plan that we need to execute. So it's really organic to us as a species and human beings to play, make, and design really every day of our life. And you can see that the definitions are pretty much aligned with what you would find on Google.
Absolutely. With that, we're going to go ahead and we're going to jump ahead. Our next two learning objectives that we saw on our agenda from the beginning, they really do go together hand in hand very well. So we kind of like to mesh them a little bit, but we'll still separate them a little bit. I guess to get us started, we're going to talk about the differences between finite and infinite. Now, excuse me, when we look at the word finite, what does finite mean, right? Finite is something that is familiar, it's repeatable, it's winnable, or it has a conclusion. Whereas something that is infinite is continuous or adaptable. It might be boundless or ever-changing. Now, I love throwing these images up on the screen that we have here now. I'm sure everyone in this room is probably pretty familiar with Super Mario Brothers at some point in their time, right? If we think about it, it has a start, it has an end. It's beatable, it's repeatable. Every time you play the game, it's the same, right? Whereas we look at something like a Minecraft, I know it's a little bit newer, but it's a more open environment style video game. Every time you go on to enter a server, something's different. It's ever changing. People are constantly creating and building and doing something different. It'll never be the same. And there is no end or conclusion. Now we're going to play another game. We don't need our sticky notes anymore. We're done with that. We'll have some fun, though. Feel free to just go ahead and blurt out your answers. Raise your hands if you want, but if someone beats you to it, they beat you to it. So when we look at those definitions on the previous slide of finite versus infinite, and we look at play, right? We just define play. What would we say play is? Is play finite or infinite?
It's infinite because it's all the way up to your imagination.
Absolutely. Yep. Play is infinite. How about making? Infinite? I agree. I like to use the example when we think about making a meal, right? We have the opportunity every day to make something different. And whether it's a recipe or not, I mean, how many times have we made something in our lives that we have to change something? It can forever be different, right? When we think about design, is design finite or infinite? Infinite, exactly. I think about designing your own personal brand, right? Every day we work harder and harder to create who we are perceived to be, right? And that's ever changing. It never ends. How about learning? Infinite.
I hope we all say infinite for that one.
Absolutely. Then we got one more we're going to throw up here. How about school? School is actually considered finite. And if you think about it, we, again, have a start date, right? We all start at a young age. Whether we stop before high school, at the end of high school, bachelor's degree, and obviously those degrees continue to go on and on. You can get as many as you want to, really. And that's where that thought process, I know, typically comes from for infinite. But, excuse me, we all essentially at the end of the day are going to school for one reason, and that's to get the piece of paper. It's completable. Every degree has a finish. You graduate, you win, right? You can continue to go back and continue to repeat, but the process is still the same. And that's where that really kind of falls into place with that definition of finite that we were discussing prior.
Yeah, so we're starting to paint the picture a little bit with a bit of the dichotomy that we see here, and we're going to put it together a little bit more.
Absolutely. Now, I know I mentioned these kind of go hand in hand. We talked about our finite and our infinite already. Let's talk about a complicated system versus a complex system. Same thing, couple of definitions up here. Complicated system is something that would be considered regular or dependable. And a complex system is something that would be considered chaotic or unreliable. Just keep those thoughts in the back of your head as we jump ahead. We're going to play another game. Same concept. We don't need the sticky notes or anything here. Just go ahead and feel free to blurt out whatever's on your mind. I can't help but chuckle when this picture comes up here. When we look at a pickup truck or a standard vehicle, would we consider this to be a complicated or a complex system? Complex. Does everyone agree? Yes. Okay. A pickup truck or a vehicle is actually considered to be a complicated system.
Should be.
Should be. And key word there is should be. And the reason being, it's a really simple, reliable, simple function. I mean, it's not really a simple function because there's so many moving parts and whatnot. But if you think about it, you put the key in the ignition, and when you turn the ignition, that vehicle is supposed to start and get you from point A to point B. And that's the simple function, really, of the vehicle, hence making it a complicated system.
That bird just flew. So, like Jack said, it should be complicated, but I always chuckle because he's actually got a Chevy. And I would say his is more complex because he's got nothing but issues with it.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
He flew in and out of Sanford one time, and then he had to get jumped by the airplane jumper. So
Yeah.
I was like, oh yeah, I think that thing's a complex system you got there.
After 2 hours in the rain, nothing worked. It was a good time. Now we're going to jump ahead. When we look at a weather pattern, would a weather pattern be considered a complicated or a complex system?
I would say it's complex.
Everyone agree?
Complicated. There's a lot of things going on, a lot of variables, a lot of different factors.
Here, let's go back to the...
Yes. So when we think complicated, we're thinking regular and dependable.
I would say complicated.
For weather patterns? Okay.
Is your... Is your local weather man or woman usually accurate?
I mean, everything's driven by high pressure and low pressure, and they're very chaotic. I mean, they can be unreliable, depending, especially if it's seasonal.
For sure.
How the pressure is in the high.
You can't have them on hurricane.
Getting better at it, but not really.
Right.
I mean, it's still.
I like to use the example, both of us being from up north, right? We're both Green Bay guys. We get tons of snow, a lot of cold, not so much anymore, thank goodness.
Yeah, like,
But I remember there were days when I was younger and I had to be third, fourth grade. We'd see the news at night before school. School's canceled, snow day. We're expecting 14 to 18 inches of snow. I'll never forget the day I woke up the next morning and the ground was green. There was no snow, nothing came all day long. School got canceled and we were playing in the mud.
Be like in supercells, tornadoes, and things like that too, where you get like 2 or 3 months of warning before.
Right.
Correct.
It's pretty chaotic.
Absolutely.
Well, even looking at like a phenomenon like the butterfly effect, right? It's a scientific phenomenon where the flap of a wing could, the sticky note falling down could cause a different weather pattern, you know? So it's definitely.
Might rain in here.
Yeah.
Awesome. So really, I guess to round that out, that would essentially make a weather pattern a complex system. Now, this is our last example for complicated and complex systems. Let's take a look at human beings. Do we think human people, I hear complex. I see a lot of head nods. You're correct. Human beings are.
Do you want to say something? Yeah.
All right.
And don't, first, we need to understand that these aren't a perfect depiction either. Like, there's going to be arguments for both, but they might be on one side more than the other.
Right.
Because, you know, I would say Jack's a pretty dependable guy. I mean, let's.
Well, it also goes back to the perception is reality thing, right? Like, my
Right.
wife would say I'm complicated.
Exactly, honestly.
She just doesn't want to use the word complex.
Yeah, I would tell her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But.
No, absolutely. Human beings are complex, right? Well, that's where we're kind of landing here today. They're actually considered the most complex system that there is. I know, as we all kind of mentioned here already, I mean, people are not reliable. As much as we want to say they are, they're not. I mean, we've all been in situations where we call someone and say, hey, be at my place at 7 o'clock for dinner, and they don't show up till 8:15, right? Or they don't show up at all. And, I mean, you think about kids calling out of school because they're sick. You've got parents or adults calling out of work, whether it is that they're sick or they're just going fishing. People are unreliable at the end of the day. So to pull all of this together, really, right, when we look at the definitions that Zach had discussed with you all earlier, play, make, design, organically as learners, and then we think about the finite systems of schooling versus the infinite forms of learning that we discussed in that finite versus infinite portion, and then we think about complicated systems and complex systems. And we look at the complexity of putting human beings into a finite system of schooling. It really just doesn't make sense in today's world.
So that's a lot of words. That's a lot to kind of put together. But at the premise and the basic understanding here is that learning is infinite. School is obviously finite. We have very, very complex people that are in these systems of learning. And it is basically a driver to look at what we can do now and in the future to potentially change that. And it really ties into the physical environment, the environment itself within these schools that we're working within. So we'll connect the dots a little bit more. Where might we find the intersection between play, make, and design within the context of school-based learning? So we'll look at a couple of things here. The first being the business model canvas. I don't know if you've ever seen this, worked on this, but it's a 9-step way for a rapid startup to design a business that solves a real-world problem. Primarily, they're seeking to scale quickly. So this could be like a startup that they want to get going really quickly. Why does this matter? Well, oftentimes it's found within entrepreneurial studies. And what we're seeing is that one of the biggest movements in school-based learning shows how we're evolving into more of an infinite purpose of learning. And this is being done through things like entrepreneurial studies, making culture, STEM and STEAM might be one that resonates with you. And we're going to see that a little bit more here. Has anyone heard of design thinking? So design thinking is a creative 5-step process that really begins with empathizing with the user that you're designing something for. We're seeing this model scale to more conventional siloed school structures, and it's really a way to disrupt creativity that's associated with how problems are solved. So I already mentioned STEM and STEAM. It has a major design influence, and this can really work as a disruptor from that traditional structure that we tend to see. At the end of the day, the most important part of STEM and STEAM and design thinking is that the user is the main person in focus. So let's just take STEM for example, whether it's science, engineering, art, if they put that user in focus, they're going to be solving those problems substantially quicker than putting the whole entire group together. So if you can focus on the user, think of these building applications, whether it's in a maker space. That's another buzzword that we hear a lot, STEM, STEAM. It always puts the user kind of as the focal point. So we're close to wrapping up here. We're going to look at a couple of infinite play make design environments, tying into a little bit of KI here as well. So we do know that there are product elements that KI has designed to support these infinite play, make, and design learning cultures. So we'll take a look real quick here.
Yeah. Our first one here, you can kind of tell by looking at the images on the screen, we're really just looking at storage, right? Sounds simple. But the design driver here was to allow for infinite access to making and designing supplies for the students within a classroom space. And the reason being is that curriculum and teaching styles are requiring more of an active prototyping classroom structure. Think about robotics. I know robotics is becoming massive right now in schools all over the place. So the solution here, as you're seeing on the screen, was a storage element that's not only movable, but it's also variable in size. So you can fit really anything that you may need to within the classroom space, whether it be on shelves or in the cubbies that you see on the screen. But also along the lines of that ease of accessibility, keeping them open so that students can get in, grab what they need as quickly and efficiently as possible.
And it doesn't need to be open. I know I get comments on that. It doesn't look good. It's not orderly. We can put doors on here. We can lock it. You got a lot of different options. But storage is really the main driver there. The next design driver here is horizontal surfaces that are large and durable. The why behind it is the ability to immediately build or test different prototypes. It's really about those hands-on learning applications where they need to have a significant space to do that. And the solution you can kind of see here. So we should probably update some of these photos, but this type of table, this work table, we can put a phenolic resin top. We can do a butcher block top. We usually see those a lot more in those type of creative environments. But then you can have fun with it too. We call this like a dog bone shape in case you want to add some curves in there rather than the rigid corners. But at the end of the day, it's kind of parlaying that last one. You can still have storage underneath, but you need to make sure you have a nice robust horizontal surface as well.
Yeah. Our next one here, our design driver was that all furniture must perform more than one purpose. And the reason being is just like in a playroom with a 3-year-old, everything in the space can be used as an alternate or for an alternate purpose. The example that we love to use all the time is sometimes you hand a kid a brand new toy and they might have more fun playing with the box, right? You never know. And we've all seen it, or if you're me, I've done it. Exactly. So the solution here was to create adaptive seating that's flexible across both horizontal and vertical planes. I love the examples that we have up here. And actually, if you have some availability later and you want to check these out, we actually do have both of these chairs at our booth today. But the seat that we see on the left is actually our ruckus chair. It's designed for the freedom of sit. You can sit on it with a right-handed armrest, left-handed. You can perch on it, sit straddling the back, or sit in it like a normal seat. That's really to allow the freedom of the student within the classroom to be able to utilize one piece of furniture for multiple different purposes. And then the option that we're showing off to your right-hand side here, this is actually brand new to us. Yes, it's still a chair, simple function. However, again, we wanted to incorporate the freedom of sit, just like we're seeing with the ruckus in the pictures on the left. And then for those students that may need more of sensory, I'm sure we've all seen the students that may have a fidget cube or something in the classroom to try and keep themselves focused. We actually added these sensory pads underneath, again, serving multiple purposes with one piece of furniture.
Yeah, like Jack said, you should stop by and see this. We're way back in the corner in the expo. This is called Cogni, which kind of plays off of cognition. And it's all about engagement. So we have these sensory beads underneath, which kind of controls that chaos in the classroom, right? So we know, honestly, everyone does it. We're all sitting here potentially fidgeting. This gives them something that they can do in more of a controlled manner rather than moving around all over the classroom. And then furthermore, there's a heel wheel that you can see here, and it's an anti-tip mechanism. So you can come over to the booth and try to do it. I've not been able to do it. You literally can't tip back on the back two legs. So it's a safety mechanism too, right? So they literally cannot tip back on that. So it really ties into, there's multiple purposes. This is more of a tool, a learning tool than a chair. There's so many things going on. You can stack the chair, tilt it back, use it as a dolly, multi-purpose tool. All right, last but not least, we have vertical surfaces. So the why behind this is for brainstorming, collaboration, iteration, and really where you might have that intersection between virtual and the real world as well. And a prime example here is whether it's like a vertical whiteboard. Jack and I can talk more about this too, but we actually manufacture floor-to-ceiling walls as well. And some of the walls that we offer are whiteboard applications. So having access to those vertical surfaces to be able to have some of that ideation, collaboration is really important too. So that kind of wraps it up. Here's a recap of all the fun things we did here this morning. But really appreciate your time, your engagement. I know we had to put you kind of on your toes a little bit to get creative, so hope you enjoyed it and appreciate your time.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you all.